Warning, the following podcast is a shit show, and the individuals you are about to meet are idiots. Their opinions, anecdotes, and advice contain zero nutritional value. This is the critical human condition and all of its strangeness. This is life, according to an idiot.
What I do the most often is I daydream a lot. If I'm not like actively doing something, I'm probably daydreaming.
Yeah.
I'll do like arguments in my head or like situations, and my expressions will be acting out how I'm like doing it in my daydream.
Or sometimes I catch people looking at me and I'll be like, oh, it's because I just made a weird face because I thought a thought that made me make that face. Mm-hmm. Or have you ever like said a thought in your head and realized that you're moving your tongue to say the words you were thinking? And you're like, am I a fucking Neanderthal?
Like, when I'm alone in my car, it's great because I can, like, be crazy and nobody cares.
I will straight up just talk out loud at full volume. I'll be like, you know what? I haven't yelled at the top of my lungs in, like, a year. Let's try that out.
Ooh, yeah. Hey, guys, and welcome to a nice haunted episode, number 13 of According to an Idiot.
That's bad luck.
I am the main host, the host with the most, Kaylee.
Yep. That's Lee. That's Lee for you.
It's Lee.
Good old Lee.
Here I am.
I am the other main host, possibly the mainer host, if that's possible.
This mainer sounds gross, so you can have that.
Jeremy. That's my name.
Ooh.
Don't wear it out. So let's jump into this.
All right, so Jeremy.
Yeah, what the fuck do you want?
We got a question.
We got a question.
Yeah, by Bobby. Was it Bobby?
Hell yeah, it was Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby sent in, not necessarily a question, but he wanted us to talk about...
He had a series of demands.
And we are going to meet them because nobody else sent us questions.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
The first of Bobby's requests was to talk about the fourth state of water, which is called tunneling. If you guys are not already aware, there are three states of water that are most commonly known. There is a solid, liquid, and gas form of water.
I've made all three today.
Gross. Water is made up of H2O, which is an oxygen and two hydrogens. Basically, what differentiates between the three states of water is how compact the molecules are against each other.
Solid is super tight.
Yes.
Liquid is a little bit looser, flowing around, and gas, they're flying all over the place.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah.
Woo, you got it.
Biology class.
Wow. That's chemistry, but yes.
Well, we went over it briefly.
Yes. In addition to these three states, scientists now found a fourth state of water, which occurs in a mineral called beryl. Essentially what happens is one molecule of water, an oxygen and two hydrogens, will get trapped
in a barrel.
Inside the barrel. Inside the mineral beryl, which is six-sided. I don't know if you care about that, but you heard it anyway.
Oh, wait, hold on.
And
how is a quick little jumping in for us common folk? How is a mineral have six sides? How is a mineral have six sides?
It does. It just does.
Like, is it in crystal form?
Yeah, that's how it's made.
Like, I'm thinking of like a dice.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you got dice of mineral beryl, and then you got water, which looks like Mickey's head.
We're getting too advanced here.
I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but it looks like beryl, so that's how I'm going to say it. But mineral beryl...
or Burrell. Let's get fancy, call it Burrell.
Burrell makes up the basis of your gems, aquamarine, and emerald. Essentially what happens with tunneling is one water molecule is trapped inside the dye of beryl, and it becomes super, super tight inside. So the water molecule essentially... This is weird to explain. Mm-hmm. The electrons that are on the molecule of water essentially become delocalized so that the electrons become like a spread instead of being attached to specific spots. Like if you got a pancake, right? Uh-huh. You got chocolate chips and specific spots, you know, like that chocolate chip is only going to be in that spot.
Built into it.
That's usually how electrons work. They're the chocolate chips that stick into one specific spot. But in certain molecules like benzene, the electrons become delocalized and they're not in one particular spot at any point in time. They're in all the spots at all the points in time. So it's like a peanut butter spread over your pancake.
Right.
And that's all your electrons.
That's wild.
It's like, hey, there's peanut butter. But if I go over in the other side of the pancake and poke my finger in, it's still peanut butter. Wow.
So you're potentially just looking at a big flop of peanut butter.
Yeah.
So how do we know there's even a pancake under there?
You do.
Is it inside the pancake as well? As
It
well
is.
as on top
It's all
of it?
over. It's
So then where's the pancake?
pancake doesn't exist. You took the wrong pill. Goodbye, Morpheus.
See ya.
Yeah, so basically, the tunneling is the electrons are all over the place. They can jump from outside to inside to above to below to one end to the other end.
Sounds like chaos.
And that's what it is. That's what tunneling is. They compared it to a hill and a ball. If you had a hill, put a ball on the top and you rolled it down, but you took the same energy it took to roll the ball down to roll it back up, it would go back to the same spot, right?
Whatever you say.
If the ball is the water molecule, basically the ball could be under the hill, above the hill, one side of the hill and the other side of the hill, but all like at any point in time.
Ball is God.
Ball is God.
Praise be ball.
Bitch. I would drop the mic, but it is connected to the table. Do you know what tunneling is now?
Yeah.
Are you intrigued?
I could explain it to somebody. I couldn't explain it to somebody. I could be like, well, see, think of a pancake. Now think of a ball.
All right.
Now picture a ball covered in peanut butter.
Yes.
And you're trying to get up the hill, but you keep
But
on
the
slipping
chocolate
on.
chips are the electrons.
Yeah.
And the peanut butter is the universe. And the hill is physics.
And the ball is God.
So basically, we got it.
Yeah.
Like the ball, that's your classic physics. But when you go down to a molecular level, it operates by a whole different, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, I know.
A whole different chapter of the book, right? It's quantum
You don't need to
physics.
explain molecular physics to me or quantum, because
Quantum? Quantum physics. It's just physics, but smaller. That's the statement
Sounds
I have.
pretty easy. So much for scientists being smart.
Yeah. Sorry, scientists.
Sorry, scientists. Sounds like you got a really easy
Quantum
job.
physicist, more like quantum bitchicist.
That's good. That's good. One. Really put them in their place.
Ooh.
Yeah, find a new
Neil
job.
deGrasse Tyson, more like Neil deAsse Tyson.
Your dog's name is Tyson, so this is really conflicting for me. Neil deAsse Tyson.
She said, ooh.
Neil and show me your ass, Tyson.
God, I'm the best at improv. So what was the
So the second
request?
Second Bobby's second demand was a suitcase full of $12,000 on marked bills.
Couldn't give that to him, so instead we're going to talk about the hollow earth theory.
Well, okay, so he didn't specifically ask for the hollow earth theory.
He did. Jeremy's just bad at interpretation. He
Not an
scored
interpretive dance.
poorly on the comprehensive portion of his test scores.
Mm-hmm. Didn't even put my name in the right spot. All right, so here's the problem: is like I didn't look up that much on hollow earth.
I
You
did.
Okay, so I'll take over after you're done talking about hollow earth.
Yeah, you guys wanted to hear more of my voice. I heard it, and I am ready to deliver. All right. So, hollow earth theory is where the earth is hollow. Thank you. You're welcome, Bobby. So basically, the hollow earth theory is a belief that there is another earth inside of the earth, and there could be multiple layers to the earth where there are complex civilizations and species of intelligent beings that inhabit these layers of our earth. The Nazis actually thought that we...
Whoa. Let's not go throwing your beliefs into this.
You're going to hear about it. So the Nazis actually claimed
What?
the earth that we're on isn't the outermost portion. So to test it, they used lasers to try and reflect off of like the atmosphere and the water and all these different things to prove we're living on a concave earth inside another earth. They were wrong and it didn't work, and they just proved, we're on a round sphere.
On top of that, another test they did was to spot a British warship. They aimed a telescope up like 45 degrees into the air in hopes of seeing like some sort of refraction or something.
Right.
To see if they could see it. These were like legit scientists.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I guess there's a warship over
Right.
there. Let's point it the opposite direction. They got nothing though.
They got nothing.
It seems to be, maybe this is just a conspiracy put on by Big Pharma.
Ooh.
Of all people, maybe we are living in a concave earth or a hollow earth. I don't know. But from what I read and from what you read, I think we could both agree that it's a little bonkers.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bobby.
Sorry, Bobby. So basically the inner Earth to our Earth, our baby Earth, as you might say, we are pregnant with Agritha. Which is
my beautiful daughter Agritha.
which is the name known for what is to be believed as the
Inner Earth.
Inner Earth. A lot of people thought, even back Great Depression time, that the way to get inside the inner Earth was through the North and South Pole.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that time, we hadn't explored them yet. So our thoughts were they were like these lush climates and, mammoths and all these intelligent people were basically climbing out of holes in the North and South Pole from inside the Earth.
Yep.
And
it was backed up by a lot of science, right?
how about a lot of history?
Okay.
So a lot of ancient cultures actually have ties to this thought of like a inner world.
Right.
Things like purgatory, people thought would be like the inner Earth, like the dead spirits, and hell. You know how people are kind of like dragged down to hell.
Mm-hmm.
It's thought that was what hell is. You go inside the North Pole, and then, boom, there's the devil.
He's been waiting for you.
Sorry. The Greeks talked about Hades. The Christians refer to hell. And in Judaism, it's referred to as Sheol. Sheol. Something like that. If you're Jewish, I am so sorry.
Yeah, it is kind of strange when you think about it that most, if not all, major religions
Have some form of
of and some form of place that is in the ground, that is inside
Right.
Earth. And like, why is that? Is it because we go to the dirt when we die?
I'm assuming so. I'm sure there's like some correlation to that.
So kind of piggybacking off of that.
Ooh. He's gyrating, everybody.
Yeah. Ooh, can you hear it?
His ass is clapping together. He probably removed the audio, but it is. It's
My ass.
It's clapping.
Yep. I dropped it and made it clap.
Ooh.
Yep. All natural, baby.
Ooh.
So, to be fair, in Bobby's request, he did say the people that live inside the earth.
Yes.
You could, I think maybe the obvious explanation would be what you just talked about, but
Right.
I took it
The Nazis.
in a completely different direction, and one that I'm sure Bobby did not see coming because I am a maverick. You cannot predict my move even when you ask me to make a certain move.
Ooh, are you part of Low Gang?
Don't even talk to me. So,
You know they're called Mavericks, right?
yeah, but so was John McCain.
John McCain's a Maverick?
John McCain and Sarah Palin in their campaign of 2008, they called themselves the Mavericks.
Oh.
So yeah, let's talk about other people that live underground and people being humanoid,
Oh.
but not necessarily human people.
So superheroes.
Nope. Yep, this is all about Superman. Superman was born in the ground. Did you know that? Superman was born in purgatory. So let me just give you some quick, fun little tidbits about people that live in the ground in folklore.
I like folklore.
You're a folk whore. The Native Americans of Native America had much folklore. Quite a bit of folklore. One fraction of which is what they call, quote, the little people. Yeah, isn't that kind of weird? All
Like
of these
Little
things,
People, Big World.
Yep, these little people were just a couple of dwarves trying to make it, trying to raise a family off of minimum wage. It was real inspiring. I was surprised. I was like, is this really like Navajo stuff? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And they were white too in the story. Little people were these little creatures that look like little men, and in certain cave paintings, they're shown to have horns. So the little people were little pranksters. They pulled pranks.
Oh my God.
Here's what they would do.
That's rude.
They came up from the ground. They would live in caves and they would dwell deep underneath the earth. They would come out during the daytime and dance and do a bunch of fun stuff, and they would start singing songs. And people would come out of their teepees and go, "What's this music?" And they'd follow it, and then they'd hide and they'd keep on making the music, so people would go crazy and be like, "God damn it!" I was really excited to get a hold of that mixtape, but it seems like the artist is nowhere to be seen.
Right. So basically, they're the Paul brothers.
Can you please stop? Kaylee really wants to get to her science corner, which is all about Mavericks and Logan Paul.
They're all pranks.
But they're not all bad, because here's what the little people also do.
Okay.
They love kids.
Ah.
And not in a Jared from Subway kind of way. So the little people, what they would do is they would take children from abusive parents, which on one side is really nice.
Yeah.
On the other side is still literally kidnapping.
Yeah.
But I think it's for a good cause.
It's hard to be against it.
Definitely. And so they would rescue lost children or children that were abandoned by their parents.
So would they help them? Like, once they steal these children, what do they do?
Allegedly, the kids live with them. So I guess the kid...
Can you imagine having, like, a father that's this short, horned beast
Yeah,
that likes to dance
you
and
don't
pull
understand.
pranks?
Like, these are like little people. They're proportional. They're not like imps. They're like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
What?
Like that kind of...
That small?
Like a little man.
How are they kidnapping children?
Well, they don't kidnap. They lure them. They're like, hey, come over here.
But how do they hear them if they're so small?
Well, they're not like insect size. They're probably like the size of a squirrel.
So that's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
I would like kick it.
They're magic. Well, I'm sure they wouldn't like it if you kicked it.
Like, get away.
Let's talk about gnomes, baby.
Ooh.
Gnomes also commonly live in the ground. Now, gnomes you typically associate with maybe like English or Scandinavian folklore, but gnomes can be found from anything from German folklore to Greek folklore.
To
That's
Goosebumps.
Right. To Goosebumps. That's where I think that was probably the peak of gnome media.
Right.
Was Goosebumps. Gnomes, if you don't know, guard treasure or mines.
Right.
On a similar side to gnomes, you got goblins. They're the opposite. So goblins are, quote, a small, grotesque, and characteristically cruel little man creature that inhabit caves and groves, which is also my new Tinder bio.
Mm-hmm.
Where gnomes protect and guard treasures, goblins covet it. And you'll see goblins wearing red hats. There's actually a whole breed of goblin in ancient folklore called red caps. And it's goblins that traditionally kill humans and then dye their caps with the human blood. So then on top of that, you have trolls, which everybody knows trolls. Trolls live in caves and under bridges and shit. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so I'm just trying to speed this as a transition into my spook squad.
A spook squad. Ooh. Lay it on me.
Have you ever heard of the Green Children of Woolpit?
No.
You're about to, bitch.
Fuck yeah.
So, in the village of Woolpit in Suffolk, England, this happened in the 12th century during what is known as the reign of King Stephen, which is somewhere between 1135 and 1154. You know, everyone's favorite era, the 1100s. So one night, the villagers of Woolpit discovered two children, a brother and a sister, beside one of the wolf pits on the edge of town. Do you know what a wolf pit is?
It's a pit for wolves.
That's exactly right.
I know.
Damn. So essentially what they would do is they would make these pits in the ground.
Right.
Kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah.
They would sometimes line them with bricks so they're nice and sturdy.
Mm-hmm.
And the wolves would just walk into them.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of idiots.
Wolves are
they wouldn't
stupids.
They wouldn't even cover them up.
Wolves are stupids.
Yeah, the wolves would just like wander like an idiot. And they would just go in there and maybe die or wait to be, killed when the people came. So the village of Woolpit, the name derives from literal wolf pit.
Right.
Because there's wolf pits all around town. So one night the villagers heard a commotion, one thing after another. They went out to the edge of town by a wolf pit and they found a little boy and a little girl. Normally you'd say, cool, free kids. Not a big deal.
Right.
That's what the village said. They collectively said it at one time. I'm hungry. Time to eat some kids. But here's the thing. These kids were different.
They tasted bad?
Probably, but they didn't eat them, so they don't know for sure. But I'm sure they would have tasted bad. So these children were different. You know why?
Why?
Their skin was green.
Gross.
They wore unfamiliar clothing.
They were goblins.
I don't know. And on top of that, they spoke a language that was completely incomprehensible to anybody in the village.
Ah!
They spoke their own language.
Ah!
Yeah.
Scary.
So the villagers were like, I don't know what to do with these kids. And they're like, yeah, I don't know. Let's put them in the wolf pit. Someone's like, no, let's not do that. Instead, let's go send them to live with this dude named Richard DeKalb.
I was going to say Nixon for a second.
Richard Nixon. He said,
My mind is
talk
all
it
over
to
the
me.
place.
I am not a wolf. But you are a wolf, Mr. Nixon. Hashtag Watergate.
Such a bad impression.
I don't know if Richard DeKalb offered to take in these green children. If so, bold move on Richard DeKalb because who knows what they were. First of all, they're green. So they go to live at Richard DeKalb's estate. I believe he was a pretty wealthy landowner. He owned a manor 6 miles north of Woolpit. So when the children got there, he got them their own little quarters to live in. So the kids wouldn't eat anything for several days. They refused to eat.
Weird.
Very strange. And they would just whisper to each other in an unknown language.
Oh, God.
Super creepy. But then one day, I believe they were probably just like fucking around in the house, being creepy.
Mm-hmm.
They got into the pantry and they found raw broad beans, which is essentially like snap peas.
Okay.
It's like peas in a pod,
Okay.
but like old-timey version. And they just ate them ravenously. And then slowly over time, they began to adopt a fairly normal diet. Once they started to adapt a normal diet and got comfortable in their arrangement, their skin slowly lost its green hue. But they still spoke in their foreign language. So around that time, what anyone would do, they got them baptized. And after the baptism...
So let me get this straight. They baptized them after they lost their green color and not before.
That's a good point. Maybe they were in the process of losing it. The baptism came after them beginning to assimilate, to suffocate.
Also makes sense. If they went into a normal diet, it means they wouldn't be eating so many green stuff, and therefore they would lose their green color.
But green food doesn't make you turn green.
Do you know that?
Do you know that?
I took nutrition. Do you want to fight about it? I'm pretty sure it does.
What?
It does.
That's not what it is.
It does.
That's impossible.
Let me Google it real quick while you finish the story.
Anyways, so shortly after the baptism, the boy died. He just wasn't cutting it.
Oh, wow.
He's like, "Fare thee well, sister. I'm sick as fuck." He probably just got like a cough, because back then that's all it took.
I was right. Eating too much green will turn you green.
Are you serious?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. I knew
Let me
it
see
was
it.
right.
Let me see it.
Look at that. Eating too much.
What's the source? It's Quora is the source.
Yeah. Doctor says yes.
Yeah, what doctor says yes? It's Quora, which is just like where people come to ask questions.
So Yahoo Answers. What do you mean? It's
Yeah,
validated.
essentially. So over time, after that boy was buried, the girl began to take lessons and learn English. Picked it up pretty well. But once she started to learn English, she was finally able to communicate about where she came from.
Oh my god.
Get ready for this. She explained to DeKalb and the villagers of Woolpit that she and her brother had come from a place called St. Martin's Land, a subterranean world inhabited by individuals all sharing that green complexion. In this supposed place called St. Martin's Land, the sun never shined, and the land was in a permanent state of like a dim twilight.
It's like Michigan.
Yeah, pretty much. Michigan after November. A secondary account taken of the sisters' story says that everything in St. Martin's Land was green as well. So, there were two people that documented this.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they were both friars.
Okay.
If that does anything for
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, it does.
One was called William, and one was called Ralph.
Ooh, yeah, that helps too.
Is this good for you? So, I think it's funny that the name Ralph existed back in 1100s. That would suck to be named Ralph. Right, Ralph? I know you're listening right now.
Fuck you, Ralph.
Where am I? Okay, so for the most part, Ralph and William's stories are very similar. But in a few places, they get a little bit different. According to William, the children had been herding their father's cattle in St. Martin's Land when they heard a loud noise and suddenly found themselves by the wolf pit. And William believes the noise to be the bells of what's called Bury St. Edmunds, which is a church that's right nearby the wolf pits. Now, according to Ralph, the children followed the cattle into a cave, and after being guided by the sounds of bells, emerged in Woolpit. So, the girl went on to work as a servant at DeKalb's manor, and it is said that she went on to get married and have a kid of her own. So here are some interpretations of what this might be. The first thought is probably like fairies or something. Or what if it's aliens?
Oh my god.
Thanks. I just need to do that once in a while. So many tie a connection to the fairy otherworld, which comes from a piece of ancient English folklore depicting a extraterrestrial world inhabited by impish green alien-like creatures. So what's also worthy of noting is that in Celtic belief and folklore, which, is close to England, is that green, like green spirits, are sinless. Author and folk singer Bob Roberts stated in his 1978 book, A Slice of Suffolk, Bob Roberts said, quote, "I was told there are still people in Woolpit who are descended from the Green Children, but nobody will tell me who they are."
So they were able to reproduce with like normal people?
Yeah. So additional theories question whether the children were aliens or inhabitants of a world beneath Earth. Bobby, see how this ties in? Are you happy with me? Robert Burton, an Oxford scholar, suggested in 1621, so maybe take whatever he says with a grain of salt, in his collection of writings that the children, quote, fell from heaven.
Oh my God.
Like aliens. But
so they were like really burnt?
Yeah, they're totally incinerated by the atmosphere. Yeah.
Oh,
Very
God,
true.
science jokes.
But that's the Green Children of Woolpit. It's a super trademark piece of like folklore that's still celebrated today in that area.
Wow, that's really cool. I love hearing folklore. Folklore is the good lore.
Folklore is no joke.
Lore.
I also heard something kind of creepy that's kind of sciencey. You might like.
Okay, yeah, lay it on me.
I really want to try this out, and I tell me if you've tried this out before.
Okay.
If you look into a mirror in the dark long enough, your brain will start to hallucinate. It's referred to as the strange face illusion, and it's a consequence of a dissociative identity effect.
Okay.
So if you look at yourself in a mirror in a very, very dim light for a long enough time, your brain gets like bored and creates like a separation between you and your reflection. Therefore, instead of you watching your reflection, you suddenly get the feeling that your reflection is watching you. Have you ever noticed, like, say you're having like a sleepover with your friends and you're talking to each other and you're kind of looking at each other, but it's too dark to really see your facial expressions, but you can still make out the face? Mm-hmm. I remember when I was a kid doing this, and sometimes the faces would look like they were changing.
Have you finished Toll House yet?
Yes, I was going to talk to you about that.
I haven't finished it, so don't give me spoilers.
Ooh, what episode are you on?
I'm on episode 8.
Okay, so you're getting close because there's 10 episodes.
Yeah,
so
I have
just
3 left.
just to clarify, on Netflix, if you guys are in the mood for a spooky like Halloween TV show, there's this new miniseries. I assume it's a miniseries on Netflix called The Haunting of Hill House. It's based off of a Shirley Jackson book. So I think, in my opinion, like this show made me realize how little you see horror in television.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
they do it so well too. It's not like jump scares that a lot of movies rely on now. It's a lot of just like creepy, kind of like background stuff too.
Definitely. Have you found any secret ghosts?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so creepy.
I couldn't find any, and then like I watched an episode with my brother, and for some reason like Zach has been finding every single ghost. And he's like,
it's so creepy.
Goes,
when
like,
you finally notice it.
Yeah, he goes like, look right there, and like right in the middle, this scene's just going on, and there's a creepy ass dude hanging out in the background in the shadows.
Right.
And like,
it's like, how did I not notice? And it's literally right in my face.
But you know what? I think it's a really good example of like, that means that a ghost could just be around me and I would never see it.
Right.
If I didn't see it there, how would I know there's not somebody watching me right now?
Yeah.
Just a quick little synopsis for people not aware of this. It's essentially about a family.
Spoilers, yeah.
No spoilers, yeah. It's about a family. So this family in, I want to say the 80s, the parents are essentially...
They're like house flippers.
House flippers.
Yeah. They buy Hill House. Their owners had just recently deceased. So they decide to buy it and fix it up because it wasn't in great shape. And
it's a big, like, beautiful mansion.
It's a huge mansion. Has like a library. And the kids, it's the husband and wife. And then there are 5 kids of varying ages. The last 2 are twins. And they have a very uneasy feeling about the house, and there's, certain things that are happening to make children feel uncomfortable.
So essentially the show captures the kids at an age when they're at Hill House being haunted, being traumatized essentially,
right.
Like irreversibly traumatized by what they're seeing in this house. And then we also see modern day where they're all adults and they're all suffering from what they saw in different ways to different degrees.
Right.
And I think in that way it's super fascinating to see how childhood
too.
Trauma can affect people.
Right.
And how families deal with that.
And it's also really interesting because at the beginning, it goes from, like, each episode has one person's perspective, how they ended up growing up with what happened to them and things like that. And you kind of start off with having prejudices against, like, certain characters. And then once you get their side, they're like, oh, my God.
Oh, wait,
like,
you're human, yeah.
Yeah, it's like holy shit. Like, you had it so bad.
There's a reason you're like this.
Yeah, there's a reason why you're like this, and I totally understand now. but it's also kind of frustrating because you want all the other characters to know what you know too.
Right, yeah.
And they don't. So it's like,
I love that because that's like a sign of good storytelling where you're like sympathetic, almost empathetic of these characters to the point
Yeah.
where you want the other characters to understand them like you do. It's a weirdly quality show for like a horror thing.
yeah, it's easily the best horror thing I've seen
Since Goosebumps.
since Goosebumps. But I honestly, I think it might be the best horror thing I've seen ever.
It's definitely 100% up there. It's at least in like a long form, like it
Yeah.
wasn't a movie.
Yeah.
100%.
As far as like quality and like actual scares.
It's excellent.
Without a whole lot of spoilers, you should watch Hill House because
Definitely,
it's
it's
great.
very
If you
excellent.
if you like scary things,
Yeah. If you guys like Spook Squad and stuff, if you're into the creepy stuff,
yeah,
definitely check it out. Especially around this time of year, it's like perfect.
right. If you come across any children that are green, maybe just
Feed 'em beans.
Don't invite them in your house because it's
Well,
kind of
definitely
weird.
you should feed them a lot of beans.
We learned about the fourth state of water called tunneling.
All those
And-
balls going up hills and the peanut butter
Yeah,
chocolate chips.
peanut butter chips. And we learned that Nazis were crazy for more than a few reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And we probably don't have a gateway into the underworld from the North and South Pole.
Probably not.
If you guys want to ask us questions or give us suggestions like old Bobby did, email us at accordingtoanidiot@gmail.com. You can also tweet us at idiotsaccord. We also have an Instagram called According to an Idiot. Thank you guys and have a nice weekend.
If you don't mind, I'm going to go stare at myself in a mirror in the dark for an hour.
Bye.
See ya.